Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks so much for stopping by today. Today I have two cards that I have made using some visible image products, and these cards are both using the same colors and basically the same technique. I am layering pastes on top of each other, and so I'm going to be using the stencil called Words of Support, and that is this one. And then I'm also going to be using another stencil called Daisy Daisy. And then the stamp set I'm using is called One Kind Word. And both of the cards today are using some watercolor paper, and the paper is cut 5.5 to 5.5. And then I will end up mounting these onto a 5 3/4 and 5 3/4 a piece of cardstock. But I'm going to go ahead and start out with this first one. I'm going to start with the stenciling first, and so I'm going to lay down my stencil on my watercolor paper, and I'm going to grab one of my favorite pastes, and this is the Affinibar paper paste. And so I'm just going to take my knife and apply that paste through the stencil over the entire stencil. And because this is a 6x6 stencil, it fits perfectly over the size of card. And then I'm going to take my heat tool and speed up the drying process by heating this up. If you don't prefer this look or this method, you can go ahead and let it air dry. And then I'm going to give it a spritz with my water bottle, and then I'm going to apply some Distress ink sprays. And the colors that I'm using are Twisted Citron, Squeezed Lemonade, Salvaged Patina, and Picked Raspberry. And once I have applied those, I'm going to go ahead and take my heat tool and dry those. And then I'm going to use the Daisy Daisy stencil. So I'm just going to place it at the top, and I'm going to take the same paper paste and apply that directly over it. This comes out a little bit messy, I think, because of the paste that's already underneath. And so I take one of my little pick tools and clean that up a little bit just by scraping some of that off, so you can see the petals a little bit better. But then I'm going to apply some of the paste as well in those two other spots, and I'm just using the middle of the flower for that. And I'll set that panel aside and start on the next panel, and I'm going to spritz that with water first, and then I'm going to apply my colors, and I'm using the exact same colors. The only difference with this card is that I am doing my color first instead of the stenciling first. So I'm going to apply my colors and then dry that with my heat tool, and then I'm going to grab the flower stencil first. And for this one, I am going to apply a little bit more ink through the flower. So I'm using some Lavinia Elements, and the colors I'm using are Lime Punch and Sundance. So I'll go ahead and apply that color through the stencil. Doesn't make a huge difference. It might have been different if I had applied it to a blank piece of paper first. And then I'm going to take that texture paste, and this is a matte transparent texture paste by Ranger, and so it is going to dry clear. And I did use my heat tool, and you can see that it bubbled it up, and like I said, I really love that look. But if that's not something that you like, you can always let it air dry and it won't have those bubbles in it. And then after that, I am going to take the paper paste and apply it kind of diagonal over the stencil, and then those two corners I apply the transparent paste, and then I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to apply a little bit more color over the entire panel and spritz that with water and go ahead and dry that. And that darkens this up just a little bit. Hopefully you can see the flower through all of that color. And I'm taking some inks to see if I can try and bring out that flower a little bit more so it's a little bit more visible. So here are the two completed panels. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and stamp up the typewriter. The black one is in Versafine Clair Nocturne, and then the brown one is in the Versafine in the Sepia. And some of the little sentiments from the stamp set fit perfectly on the little pieces of paper that are coming out of the typewriter. So one of them says you're amazing and the other one says you are loved. And I'll go ahead and fussy cut both of those out. And then for this part, I'm using a die from my stash that has these little slots on it. And this stamp, this sentiment stamp fits perfectly on those little lines. And so what I did was I broke up the stamp among 3 of the lines on that die cut. It says one kind word can change someone's entire day. And so I'm taking the paper and blocking off the parts that I don't want to be inked up and then stamping. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to this card panel. And I was supposed to color it before I adhered it, but I had already adhered it at this point and I forgot. And so I'm just spraying a little bit more color over that die cut, and then I will spritz that with some water and then take a baby wipe and mop up a lot of that color. I just wanted it not to be totally white, and I think it contrasted too much against the background, so it's just a really light wash of color. And then I have popped up that typewriter and matted the card on a 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 piece of black cardstock and added a little bit of black splatter. And then for the other card, I created a frame with the die from my stash and typed hello and put a little heart. And I popped that up as well as the typewriter. And for this one, I splattered it with a little bit of white as well as a little bit of the picked raspberry. And that will complete my 2 cards today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did like this video or find it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. As always, I thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and I hope to catch you next time.